Welcome to Real Estate Coach Uncensored. My name is Greg McDaniel.
And I'm Bernice Ross, and we have a fantastic show for you today called What Caused Your Deal to Flop? Let's face it, deals go wrong for lots of reasons. Today, we're going to share some of the stories and some of the complexes that people have, that the agents have that cause their deals to flop. So Greg, what's the first one?
So our first one is what we've called motor mouth. But a lot of folks, what they do is they get so nervous in regards to getting the property sold that they just nonstop verbally barf on the other agent, the clients, the open houses and everything else. And you follow them around like a lost puppy and you just tell them like, look at this hardwood floor, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. And it's a motor mouth and it never stops. I had a client of mine, she and I were in a property in looking for her back when she was buying a property, and this agent would not leave us alone. It was a 3-story building, and this agent followed us through every single story, like was in our personal space and would not stop talking. And once the lady turned away, my client looked at me and she's like, let's get out of here. I just can't do this. I'm like, you don't like the house? She's like, I can't deal with this agent. I got to go.
So that cost that agent, a good buyer who might have bought that house and probably did, that cost them the deal. One of the most important principles I've trained for years is called shut up and sell. Mm-hmm. And this is especially important when you're negotiating, because if you get an agent like Greg just described, and they keep going on and on and on, they're going to cost the deal. So there's an old adage in negotiation, the first one who speaks loses. Bottom line here is zip your lips, shut up and sell. Greg, let's go on to number 2, the know-it-all. How many times have you seen someone lose a deal because they come across like they're the expert? And some of the best examples that I can remember are people that are saying, that have told their clients, well, no, you don't need a geological inspection on this property, or, it's okay on a multiple offer to waive the inspection contingencies. And then when the deal closes or there's damage, of course, they end up getting sued. We had a case in our office where one of our know-it-all agents represented that when the buyers asked where the property line was, the listing agent answered, oh, it's right there. It's where the wall is. Well, the buyers took that to heart. The buyer's agent from our office thought that it was okay. What happened was the wall was off by 1 foot. And when the new buyers wanted to add the addition, they couldn't do it because the property line was not where they thought it was. The litigation on that, the actual penalties, that property was worth $1,000 a square foot. So it was $220,000 plus punitive damages. I don't know what the final settlement was, but it was probably over $500,000 because the agent was a know-it-all.
You know what? That's one of the things when it comes to not being a know-it-all, always be in a consistent state of mind of like, you know what? We should probably get a survey done to find out exactly where that property line is. Or if this, item or this crack or this stain on the ceiling or whatever else, you say, you know what? I'm not a contractor. Why don't we get a certified, contractor in here who's bonded and licensed to really give us a true opinion? Always defer on when it comes to that. And it's so true. You can lose deals so fast on that. Bernice, that's fascinating. So many things can go so sideways in deals, but let's move on to number 3. And this is what we call the Gladiator Complex. Now, I was working with another agent and we went into a listing presentation together because it was a big property. And this individual just did nothing but talk. And they didn't ask questions. They just, put their opinions into everything. And they were trying to be the hero for the day and get the listing, right? That's what we call the Gladiator Complex. Well, ultimately, it cost us about a $3.5 to $4.5 million listing because of the lack of empathy, the lack of questions, the lack of understanding, and just trying to be the hero for the day. And guys, just please ask questions and be understanding to what the wants and needs of the other people are. Do not be the gladiator. That is not your role at that point.
The gladiator thinks that they have to win. They approach negotiation situations where I'm right, I'm going to win this, and I don't care if the other party loses. Let's go on to number 4. Seldom right, never in doubt. This is something that my father-in-law used to say about my mother-in-law, who was in real estate. And my husband says it about me sometimes too, because I'm so convinced I'm right. And of course, he loves it when he can show that I was wrong and he was right. But the problem with taking this into your business is that it can cost you a deal. And here's what happens. When you are convinced you're right and you really didn't, you try to answer a question that should have been answered by an attorney, or about the geology, or if you tell somebody that, oh, it's okay to waive the geology on a multiple offer. It's okay to waive the inspection report on a multiple offer if you want to win. Well, if there's a big problem with the property, it's not okay. And you can't make that determination. So what you need to do in this case is you always need to turn it back to the client and give them the choices. Here's the cost, the potential cost of doing this. But when you advise them, you're so certain that the only way they're going to win is by doing it without the inspections, and then there's a problem. And I've seen people get in litigation. I've also had this cost people deals, because what can happen is something comes out during the transaction, they find out there's an issue. You've lost the trust, you've lost the deal, and you've lost those referrals, and you've got someone who's going to badmouth you.
Yeah, 100%. It really comes down to be cognitive in regards to kind of what Bernice is talking about. You know, Bernice, let's move on to our next one. This is what we call hide the ball. Now, a lot of us are probably looking at each other going, what in the heck is hide the ball? Hide the ball is this. I actually have a very funny story about this. Well, not funny, it's kind of sad. But I was talking with I was doing some cold calls a number of years ago into a country club in the area that I work in here in Northern California. And talking to the seller, and I was trying to look for a listing. She said she just sold it. And I said, oh, fantastic. Who did you use? She gave me the name of the individual. I said, well, how was the experience? She said, it was absolutely atrocious. And I'm like, what? Like, this agent, a good agent, like, what the heck happened? And she said that this agent wouldn't allow her to know anything about the transaction. So, like, how do the inspections go? You don't need to know. What's going on with the negotiation? I'll handle it. You don't need to know. When are we going to be closing? I'll let you know. And it just went down this laundry list of stuff. And I was blown away, because this agent was a very well liked name in the neighborhoods. But this person just was not pumped on their agent because they kept them in the dark. That's why they call hiding the ball. Never do that. Always allow them to know everything about the transaction so they can make decisions. This is their home. You work for them, guys. You have to understand that. Like, you're not running the show. They're running the show.
Greg, I have the worst case of hide the ball that I've ever heard in my career. There was a property that was off of Mulholland Drive on a very steep street going down, and it was built out over the canyon. The first buyers came in and they had a geological report, and it specifically said this property could collapse in a major quake, and they backed out of it. There was a second set of buyers that came in. The agent did not disclose that inspection report. They closed the deal.
Oh my God.
And there were 2 people who were killed when that house collapsed in the 1994 Northridge quake. And the lawsuit, the settlement, was well over $2 million at the time. It may have been more than that for wrong, and of course cost the agent their license and everything else. But that's the worst case of hide the ball that I've ever heard or seen.
That is not a good one. That's horrible. I'm so sorry for them.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. So the cost can be incredibly high. You've got to disclose. Let's go on to number 6, the white knight syndrome. A number of years ago, I had these buyers and I showed them a listing, and the listing agent had this reputation for being a white knight. He kept acting like he was the seller, and he was in control of the transaction, and he had cost so many agents deals because his ego, this white knight syndrome, got in the way. So here's the workaround. What I had my buyers do when they put an offer in on the property, I had them write a letter and say, we presented our offers in person back at that time. So we would like Bernice to present the offer and just wait for the seller's reaction. We want to hear what the sellers have to say first. So I had that letter in my packet, And I got the listing agent to agree to it. And lo and behold, they took our offer. And I would see him years and years afterwards, and he still was talking about, well, I would have never let my clients take that offer, but they did because, he was acting as a white knight. So that's the deal that didn't get lost because I found a workaround. And when it comes to these issues that we've been talking about, this is really a key thing, this idea of being able to work around. Let's go on to number 7, chop, chop, get it done. A lot of the people in the business are, they're high drive, get it done types. And what happens when you're that type of individual, you make mistakes. And a classic one is not filling out the contracts properly. We just would zip through them. And we had an example at one of the companies I had worked at early on where the agent transposed the numbers in the address. The title company didn't catch it. They sold the wrong property. When it closed, that's when your title policy kicks in to take care of the problem. But there was no deal because no one caught that. And of course, there was litigation about it. So Greg, you have a really good example of this too. Tell us about the pre-approval letter issue that you had.
Well, I see this quite a bit, actually. We just went through this with one of our newer escrows that we just opened up on. And we'll see the agents and lenders are so just get it done. And they don't take the time to go redraft the pre-approval letter. And now it's pretty much a rule of thumb that if you're going to offer, $350,000 for a property, your pre-approval is going to be $350,000. It's hilarious. We just did a deal for $700 and change $1,000, and they gave us a pre-approval for $850,000. And I said, you couldn't, and they had the wrong address on the pre-approval and everything. And I called the agent, I called the lender, and I'm like, are you guys just trying to be sloppy? Or is this something that how you operate? And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. We're just in a rush. And I'm like, that's a definition of chop, chop, get it done. Be precise, be professional, put the right dates, get the right amount. Don't over disclose your buyer's ability to buy, because then the listing agent is going to push you. So many stories to go with that. But that is my story for chop, chop.
So Greg, final takeaway from today.
Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Don't be a white knight, guys. Don't be out there trying to save the world. Be precise with your paperwork, 100%. Always disclose. Don't be a hide the ball agent, and the list goes on and on. But take what you guys want to take out of this article in this video, put it into your business. Hopefully, one thing that we talked about here today will help you make more money for yourself, your family, and your livelihood, and everything else that's good in your life. Bernice, what's your takeaway?
Well, here's the bottom line, Greg. The most important thing you can do when you lose a deal is to look at what went wrong and then learn from it. Because when you have a failure, sometimes you beat yourself up. But what we know about the people who are most successful, it's how quickly they bounce back. So what you really want to do is look at what went wrong, what you can do to prevent it, and don't make the same mistake twice. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.